Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Marble City. Today we will be setting up the city with more essential infrastructure and creating a wharf district to serve the city's industrial needs. I really like the idea of setting up a city next to a sea connection. We've been pretty landlocked with Angler Creek, and so I'm excited to crack a shot at creating some sea-based infrastructure. I feel like areas like this really sell the realism of a city, and so I wanted to build this as soon as possible so I had a good functional base to build the rest of my residential and commercial areas off of. We're not quite directly facing the ocean. We've got quite a few smaller islands between us and the ocean, so I don't think we'll need much of a breakwater. We mainly just need an area where ships would have docked to exchange their cargo. I wanted to try to sell the idea that the cargo shipping is kind of being phased out at this point. There may be some other larger cities in the area which are seeing more trade these days, and the wharfs, while still functioning as an industrial district, are more and more of a relic of the city's past. Luckily, with the help of mods, making keys like this is pretty easy these days. I'm kind of curious if we'll get any tools added to the game with the ports expansion that should be coming sometime this year. That would definitely be a welcome improvement for our vanilla players, I think. You can still make keys without mods, but it's a lot harder and very finicky. So having something that's, directly put in the game to make keys would be a welcome addition to the game, I think. At this point, we're getting our rail infrastructure settled in. So I put in a passenger rail station at some point, and now I'm just getting a connection that goes to this side of the map. I'm not sure what cardinal direction it is, but it's the closest side to the end of the map for us. So we're just getting that connection in, so that train's going to run all the way through our city, and we're going to have lots of little crossings and stuff like that. It's going to make some interesting little areas, I hope. We're also having an industrial connection here, and that industrial connection is kind of going to be like a sort of pseudo-abandoned connection. I don't have it running to like a cargo terminal or anything like that for the trains. I just kind of have it terminating at the end of this wharf here. You'll see me draw that out here later in the video. Right now I'm just detailing up our water treatment facility. I'm starting to get to a point where I know what techniques I want to use and what layers of detail I need to add. I'm going less out of the pure experimental phase with the snow and getting a bit more comfortable with the tools and techniques I have available. Generally, to break up larger areas, I'm using these stain and dirt decals. Then I come through with the snow decals to blend the edges of the snow with the concrete, put up my frost for the middle of the concrete. Then I come through with the ore pile prop to add nice big drifts of snow. I want to continue to experiment with new techniques as I go to push the realism as much as I can. I've already got some ideas for new snow decals that could make the build a lot more realistic and also just make my life a bit easier. By the end of this episode, I've probably already placed over 2,000 to 3,000 decals, so it's quite a lot. If I want to make this region expansive, I'm going to have to figure out how to be more efficient with my decal usage. So that might mean breaking up smaller decals and combining them to make, one big decal. So, I'm doing these borders here. Maybe I could make a decal that's 3 times as long and just makes it to where I only have to place 1 decal instead of 3. And that might save up a little bit of the memory usage and just save, me having to do a bunch of clicking, So there's multiple things that we can do to expedite and make this process more efficient at no expense to the detail. I still want this build to be much more realistic and much more detailed than Angler Creek. I'm thinking working with the snow is actually going to allow me to sort of get through a lot of the limitations that we had with Angler Creek. So for instance, I was feeling really limited on the amount of bushes and the amount of grass and stuff that we could place. I wanted to do a lot of nature detailing, and I think that was holding back a lot of the realism of the build. So, whenever we had city stuff, it was really realistic. We had those Real Vision decals that were making the concrete super realistic and everything like that. But then as soon as we kind of went away from the city, all of a sudden it was just these huge green spaces without very much detail. There's no 3D grass. There's no interesting variation between the colors and the grass and the dirt and stuff like that. It's all just, very gamey. And so it was something that I couldn't really figure out how to fix. I think once we get custom assets in the game, that's going to be a walk in the park. There's going to be so many talented people that are going to be coming out with all these different assets for rocks and bushes and grass and trees and all that. And it's going to be really nice, and we're going to be able to do all that. But for now, in order to get, like a photorealistic sort of diorama, or at least as realistic as you can get with Cities Skylines, you kind of have to jump away from the idea of vegetation being you know, the photorealistic aspect of the game. So you either need to make like a super urban sort of build, or you have to build sort of like in a stylized quality, which there's a lot of really great builders on YouTube that are sort of stylizing. They're not going completely photorealistic. They're sort of just getting it just in the right spot where it's looking really nice and it's looking really detailed and stuff, but it's not 100% photorealistic. And I really like that stuff. But what I'm trying to go for is I just really love obsessing over small stuff. And so it's really difficult for me to look, you know, at the big picture sometimes. So I think having these snow decals and then, you know, constantly expanding on these snow decals is going to make it to where we can sidestep a lot of the current limitations of the game and still create something that's super photorealistic and super interesting and stuff like that. Because if I ever have some sort of limitation with the snow, I can just create another decal. So let me know what you guys' thoughts are on all of that. I'm definitely not abandoning Angler Creek. We're going to be getting a few more episodes of that at the very least. We are running out of space on that map though. Most of the map is just mountains, and I want to keep that rural vibe, so I don't want to expand the existing cities too much. There still needs to be space between the cities. I think I have space for one more small town in the area and a few one-off builds. My main focus, however, will be this winter build. We can build at a much larger scale on this map, and I'm really enjoying what I can do so far with the snowy theme. Right now, we've just been taking our time with the water treatment plant. I feel like this is a really good landmark for the industrial area, and I wanted to make sure I got it right. I did end up losing a bit of footage, so at some point the time-lapse will skip ahead some, but you're not missing a whole lot. I've included a lot of cinematics at the end to show in detail what was missed. For now though, I'll leave you with some music and be back later to explain key points. and that will conclude the time-lapse section of this video. You're seeing here part of what you missed in the time-lapse, this little harbor portion. The actual harbor asset in the game is a little too big for what I wanted, so I made a tiny custom cargo harbor there. Other than that, there's just some more warehouses and parking lots to fill in the space around here. I'm really enjoying the way the rail line came through. It's looking really nice with how we detailed that up. Thank you so much to Canyon Tiger and Clovis Grunty for supporting me on Patreon. If you liked the video, I would appreciate a like, and if you want to see more, consider subscribing. And I will see you all in the next one.